Hey friends, it's your old pal SVH here, coming at you with today's Daily Nugget for February the 13th. Today's Daily Nugget is going to come to us from The Bowl of Sake by Hazrat Inayat Khan, dated for today, for February 13th. Wisdom is intelligence in its pure essence, which is not necessarily dependent upon the knowledge of names and forms. Wisdom is intelligence in its pure essence, which is not necessarily dependent upon the knowledge of names and forms. So I guess right off the bat, kind of what this really speaks to me about is it uses the word essence in here. To me, it's the essence of mysticism. Mysticism, by definition, is close communion with God, or personal communion with God. Wisdom is intelligence in its pure essence, which is not necessarily dependent upon the knowledge of names and forms. Now, wisdom is pure, right? It's a pure, wisdom is pure intelligence that comes from a higher source, or comes from the acquiring of knowledge that gets us closer to that higher source. So wisdom is intelligence in its pure essence. So the work in my path of Sufism, and what we talk about in mystical teachings of any tradition, Christian mysticism, Buddhist mysticism, Islamic mysticism, whatever it may be, mysticism it's the essence, right? So when we do these practices of the wazaif, or the 99 names, sacred names of God that are found in the Quran, each one of these names is an essence of what God is. It's a quality, right? So when we say Ya Hadi, that's oh guide, that's the guidance. When we say Ya Qayyum, that's the sustainer. When we say these different names have different meanings, different qualities that they elicit, and the idea is to embody these in the practices so that we feel the essence of that. Okay, so like wine. I have my glass of wine right here. Wine is the essence of the grape, right? So when you think about the qualities or the essence of something, that's really what this is alluding to, and that's why I think that this passage alludes so much to the power of mysticism. Wisdom is intelligence in its pure essence, which is not necessarily dependent upon the knowledge of names and forms. Excuse me. So knowledge really precedes wisdom, right? Because you have to know something in order to discern through that knowledge what the wisdom is and what makes you wise. You know something, but then it's another step to be wise or to have wisdom. So knowledge, I think, is a predecessor to wisdom. So being dependent upon the knowledge of names and forms isn't really that important. Those are formalities. Those are things that we learn. It's like my daughter's 9 and she's in school, and we're learning math formulas. And once you learn the formula, then you kind of know how to break it down. And excuse me, it's no longer dependent. You're no longer dependent on the name or the form. You're dependent upon the answer, and the answer just comes because you know how to work it out. That knowledge, that wisdom is there, because you've gotten you've been able to learn the knowledge of the name and form, to where you can eventually drop that knowledge of the name and form and move forward. So it's a lot like our practice. Again, I'm mentioning the wazaif, which are sacred names that we recite in our particular tradition of Sufism. And that we do this much in this manner. Like we say the name, and we say it with excuse me, an open. I had a little tickle in my throat for some reason tonight. We say it with a little bit of a veneration. So we say, like a Yahadi or Yanur. When we say one of these names, we say Yah because we're crying out to her. We're saying, oh, Spirit of guidance. Oh, divine messenger. Oh, divine light. We're crying out to that and asking for it to come into our presence. Then in the second part of the exercise, we drop the Yah and we just say the word, but we don't say it out loud. Excuse me. What we do is we breathe in the word and then breathe out the word. And what this does is it brings you into the atmosphere of that presence. So you're invoking it, then you bring it into your presence. It's there, it's in the atmosphere, and then that's when you basically drop the name and the form, and you just stand and sit in that presence. So I think that's what this really alludes to, with the idea of not being dependent upon the knowledge of names and forms. Those are precursors. Those are things that we do, that we learn to get to a point where that wisdom becomes something that just comes natural and comes through. It's a pure essence. So again, just a couple thoughts on that, but I'll go ahead and read this one more time and leave you with it. Wisdom is intelligence in its pure essence, which is not necessarily dependent upon the knowledge of names and forms. There you have it. There is the Daily Nugget for today. I'll leave you with that. I just wanted to say a few little things about it. But yeah, I think this goes hand in hand with mysticism and the idea of being a mystic and being someone who works to, acquire knowledge and acquire understanding, but then that understanding rises to an overstanding, right? It rises to a new level to where now you are on that threshold of wisdom, and then you bring in that knowing that becomes part of you, and that becomes the wisdom. So hope you enjoyed today's Daily Nugget from the bowl of sake, and I appreciate you guys tuning in. Have a good night.